Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he finished checking the last supply box. The morning sun beat down on the small mining colony of New Haven, making the metal buildings shimmer like mirages in the desert heat. He had been the only doctor on this remote planet for 3 years now, and most days were quiet. Too quiet, some might say. The colony sat on the edge of nowhere, far from Earth and the busy shipping lanes. 200 people called this dusty rock home, all of them trying to make a living mining rare metals from the deep caves. Jake had come here after his time in the military ended badly. He wanted peace, and New Haven gave him exactly that. Another boring day in paradise, Jake muttered to himself as he loaded medical supplies into his old transport truck. He was making his weekly trip to check on the miners working the outer sites. The job was simple but important. Out here, a small cut could become deadly if not treated right. Linda Gray, the colony administrator, walked over to him. She was a tough woman in her 50s who had been running New Haven since before Jake arrived. Her gray hair was always pulled back tight, and she rarely smiled. "Jake, be careful out there today," Linda said, checking her tablet. "We got some strange readings on the long-range sensors last night. Could be nothing, but you know how things are out here." Jake nodded. Space was full of dangers, from pirates to solar storms. "What kind of readings?" "Big ship moving fast. Looked like it was in trouble, but it disappeared from our screens around dawn." Linda frowned. "Probably jumped to light speed and kept going, but keep your eyes open." "Will do." Jake climbed into his truck and started the engine. The old machine coughed to life, filling the air with black smoke. "I should be back by evening." The drive to the outer mining sites took 2 hours across rough terrain. Jake enjoyed the quiet time, listening to old Earth music on his radio and watching the empty landscape roll by. Red rocks and silver sand stretched to the horizon, broken only by the dark mouths of mining tunnels. He was halfway to his first stop when he saw the smoke. A thick black column rose from behind a ridge of rocks about 5 miles to the north. Jake stopped his truck and grabbed his binoculars. Through the lenses, he could see twisted metal scattered across the ground. Something big had crashed hard. Jake's military training kicked in. He grabbed his radio and called back to the colony. "Linda, this is Jake. I can see a crash site about 5 miles north of my position. Looks bad." Linda's voice crackled through the static. "Stay away from it, Jake. Could be pirates or worse." "I'm sending a security team." "The nearest security team is 6 hours away," Jake replied. "If there are survivors, they won't last that long in this heat." "Jake, that's an order. Stay back." Jake looked at the smoke again. His medical oath was clear. He had to help people who were hurt, no matter who they were. "Sorry, Linda. I have to check for survivors." He turned off the radio before she could argue and drove toward the crash site. The wreckage was bigger than anything Jake had ever seen. Pieces of strange metal were scattered across half a mile of desert. The main part of the ship was the size of a city block, buried nose first in coast in force. The sand. The metal was dark blue and covered with symbols that looked like no human writing. Jake knew. "Definitely not from Earth," he whispered to himself. Jake parked his truck a safe distance away and grabbed his medical kit. The air around the wreck shimmered with heat, and he could smell burning electronics and something else he didn't recognize. As he got closer, he could see that the ship's hull was cracked open in several places. He found the first body near what looked like an escape pod. The alien was tall, maybe 7 feet, with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. Its blood was bright blue and had already dried in the sand. Jake checked for a pulse but found nothing. Moving deeper into the wreck, Jake heard a sound. A low moan, almost like a growl, came from inside the main hull. Someone was still alive. Jake squeezed through a crack in the metal and found himself in what looked like the ship's medical bay. Strange machines lined the walls, most of them sparking and broken. In the center of the room, an alien warrior lay on a table, barely breathing. This one was different from the first body. Bigger, with darker skin and strange markings across his chest. He wore what looked like armor, though most of it was cracked and broken. Blue blood pooled beneath him, and Jake could see several deep wounds in his side and leg. The alien's eyes opened as Jake approached. They were golden yellow and filled with pain. The creature tried to speak, but only managed a weak growl. "Easy. There, big guy," Jake said softly. "I'm here to help." Jake had no idea if the alien could understand him, but he had to try. He opened his medical kit and began examining the wounds. The bleeding was bad and getting worse. Without immediate treatment, this warrior would die in minutes. The problem was, Jake had no idea how to treat an alien. He didn't know their blood type, their anatomy, or what medicines might help or hurt them. All he had were his basic medical supplies designed for humans. The alien's breathing became weaker. His golden eyes began to close. Jake made a decision that would change his life forever. "I don't know if this will work," he said to the dying warrior, "but it's the only chance you've got." Jake rolled up his sleeve and found a vein in his arm. He had 2 bags of synthetic blood substitute in his kit, but looking at the alien's wounds, he knew it wouldn't be enough. The warrior had lost too much blood and was losing more every second. Using his emergency transfusion kit, Jake inserted a needle into his own arm and another into what he hoped was a major blood vessel in the alien's upper arm. The skin was tough, but the needle went through. "Come on," Jake whispered as his red blood began flowing into the alien's blue veins. "Don't let me down." For several minutes, nothing happened. The alien's breathing stayed weak, and Jake began to worry that human blood might actually poison the creature. Then, slowly, the warrior's breathing became stronger. The change was dramatic. The alien's wounds began to close faster than Jake thought possible. The blue blood stopped flowing, and the creature's golden eyes opened wider, clearer than before. Jake disconnected the transfusion after giving about a pint of his blood. He felt dizzy, but managed to bandage his own arm. The alien warrior sat up on the table, moving with surprising strength. The creature looked at Jake with what seemed like surprise and respect. He touched his chest where the worst wound had been, then looked at Jake's bandaged arm. Even without sharing a language, the meaning was clear. The alien understood what Jake had done. "You're welcome," Jake said with a tired smile. The warrior stood up, towering over Jake. For a moment, Jake wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. But instead of attacking, the alien bowed his head in what looked like a gesture of thanks. Outside, Jake could hear the sound of approaching engines. The security team had finally arrived, along with what sounded like much larger ships. The warrior heard them too and moved toward the crack in the hull. Before leaving, the alien turned back to Jake and spoke a single word in accented but clear English: "Gratitude." Then he was gone, disappearing into the desert with impossible speed. Jake sat on the medical table, still dizzy from blood loss, and wondered what he had just gotten himself into. He had saved a life, but something told him this was just the beginning of a much bigger story. Jake woke up 3 days later feeling like he had been hit by a truck. The colony's small medical bay was quiet except for the hum of machines. Linda Gray sat in a chair beside his bed, looking worried and angry at the same time. "You've been unconscious for 60 hours, Linda said when she saw Jake open his eyes. "What were you thinking out there?" Jake tried to sit up but felt dizzy. Did they find the ship? What was left of it? By the time the security team got there, most of the wreckage was gone. Just some scattered metal and burn marks in the sand. Linda leaned forward. "Jake, what really happened?" "The team found traces of your blood mixed with something blue. Your story about giving first aid doesn't add up." Before Jake could answer, alarms started blaring throughout the colony. Linda's radio crackled to life with panicked voices. Administrator Gray, we have multiple ships approaching. Big ones. They're not responding to our signals. Linda and Jake looked at each other. This can't be a coincidence, Linda muttered as she helped Jake to his feet. They made their way to the command center, where technician Paul Davis was staring at his screens with wide eyes. Ma'am, you need to see this. We've got 12 ships out there, each one the size of a city block. They just appeared out of nowhere. On the main screen, Jake could see the alien vessels hanging in space above New Haven. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time, with smooth blue-black hulls covered in the same strange symbols he had seen on the crashed ship. They're hailing us, Paul said, his voice shaking. Audio and visual. Put it through, Linda ordered. The screen flickered. And suddenly, they were looking at an alien face. It was similar to the warrior Jake had saved, but older, with silver markings across its forehead. When it spoke, its voice was deep and commanding. Humans of New Haven Colony. I am Fleet Commander Knoxville of the Corvani Empire. We seek the human who aided our warrior Zethka. You will surrender this individual immediately. Linda stepped forward. This is Administrator Gray. We don't know what you're talking about. We found the wreckage of a ship, but no survivors. The alien commanders. Golden eyes narrowed. Do not lie to us, human. Our warrior lives because of one of your kind. We have come to retrieve both of them. Jake felt his stomach drop. Both of them? Before anyone could stop him, Jake moved to where the alien could see him. I'm the one you want. I helped your warrior. The alien studied Jake's face for a long moment. You are the healer. Yes, I can see it in your eyes. You will come with us now. Like hell he will, Linda snapped. Jake is under our protection. Your weapons cannot stop us, the commander replied calmly. But we do not wish to harm innocents. Send us the healer, and we will leave in peace. Jake looked around the command center. Everyone was staring at him like he had grown a second head. I have to go with them. Are you crazy? Linda grabbed his arm. They could kill you or worse. If I don't go, they might attack the whole colony. I won't let that happen. The alien commander seemed to understand their conversation. The healer speaks wisdom, but I offer better terms. 3 of your people may accompany him to ensure his safety. You have 1 hour to decide. The screen went black. Linda immediately started organizing the colony's defenses, but Jake knew it was hopeless. The alien ships could probably destroy New Haven in minutes if they wanted to. An hour later, Jake found himself in a small shuttle with Linda and Dr. Amy Foster, the colony's biologist. Amy was a smart woman in her 30s who had always been curious about alien life. She had volunteered to come along to help understand what the aliens wanted. The shuttle docked with the largest alien ship, and they were escorted through corridors that seemed to glow with their own light. Everything was clean and beautiful. Like being inside a work of art. They were brought to a large room where the alien commander waited with several other aliens in what looked like medical uniforms. In the center of the room stood the warrior Jake had saved. Zethka looked completely different from when Jake had found him dying in the wreck. He was taller, stronger, and moved with fluid grace that seemed almost superhuman. His golden eyes were brighter, and there was an intelligence there that hadn't been present before. When Zethka saw Jake, he immediately bowed deeply. Healer Morrison, I owe you my life. Jake was surprised the alien knew his name. How do you know ... The bond teaches many things, the alien doctor interrupted. She was smaller than the warriors, with intricate blue markings on her arms. I am Dr. Vex, though. What you have done is unprecedented. Dr. Foster stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. What bond? What's happened to him? Doctor Vex, though, gestured to Zethka. Show them. The warrior moved to a training dummy made of what looked like solid metal. With casual ease, he punched straight through it. Then he moved to a complex puzzle on a nearby table, solving it in seconds. With moves too fast for human eyes to follow. Your blood has enhanced every aspect of his being, Dr. Vextho explained. Strength, speed, intelligence, healing. He is now superior to any normal Corvani warrior. Jake stared in shock. That's impossible. Human blood can't do that. For us, it can. The alien doctor pulled out a device that looked like a medical scanner. We have analyzed the blood samples from the crash site. Human blood contains compounds that react with Corvani physiology in remarkable ways. Amy leaned forward, fascinated. What kind of compounds? Your species produces unique proteins and cellular structures. When mixed with our blood, they create a symbiotic relationship. Enhanced physical abilities, improved mental function, accelerated healing. Linda looked suspicious. And what do you want from us? Fleet Commander Knoxville stepped forward. The Corvani Empire has been at war for over a century with an enemy called the Skrull. They are a plague upon the galaxy, consuming entire worlds. We have been losing. Zethka spoke up. But now with this enhancement, I could defeat 20 normal Skrull warriors. If we had more enhanced warriors, we could turn the tide of the war. Jake felt the weight of their stares. You want more human blood? We want a partnership, the commander corrected. Your species could save millions of lives across the galaxy. In return, we offer you technology, knowledge, and a place of honor in the Corvani Empire. Dr. Foster was practically bouncing with excitement. Think about it, Jake, the medical advances they could share with us. We could cure diseases, extend human lifespan, explore the galaxy. But Jake was thinking about something else. During the conversation, he had felt strange sensations, like memories that weren't his own. Images of alien worlds, battles in space, and a creeping darkness that consumed everything in its path. Zethka, Jake said slowly, I can feel something. Like I'm seeing your memories, the warrior nodded. The bond works both ways, healer. You gave me part of yourself, and I have given you part of myself. I can feel your compassion, your desire to help others. It makes the enhancement stronger. Dr. Vex, though, looked excited. Fascinating. The emotional connection amplifies the physical changes. This explains why artificial synthesis has failed. Linda crossed her arms. What do you mean? Failed? We have tried to create the enhancement artificially, but it does not work. The blood must be freely given, and there must be a connection between donor and recipient. Jake sat down heavily in a nearby chair. So you need willing volunteers. Yes, and we need you to help us find them. Fleet Commander Knoxville moved closer. You understand now what is at stake. The Skrull will not stop with our worlds. Eventually, they will find Earth. Through the strange bond with Zethka, Jake could feel the truth of those words. He saw flashes of destroyed planets, their surfaces stripped bare by creatures that looked like living shadows. Amy touched Jake's shoulder. What are you thinking? Jake looked around the room, at the faces watching him. Human and alien, all waiting for his decision. I need to know more about this war. And I need guarantees about how humans will be treated. The commander smiled, showing sharp teeth. Of course, you will be our honored guests while we discuss terms, but know this, Healer Morrison. Time is not on our side. Every day we delay, more worlds fall to the Skrull. As if summoned by his words, an alarm began sounding throughout the ship. A young Corvani officer ran into the room, speaking rapidly in their language. Zeth Dashka translated, his enhanced mind processing the information instantly. A Skrull scouting force has been detected near the border. They're moving toward inhabited systems. Fleet Commander Knoxville turned to Jake with urgent eyes. This is what we face, healer. Will you help us? Jake felt the weight of an entire galaxy's future pressing down on him. Through his bond with Zethka, he could sense the warrior's desperate hope and the fear of his people. "I'll help," Jake said quietly, "but we do this right. No forced donations, no exploitation. If we're going to save the galaxy, we're going to do it the human way." The alien commander bowed his head. "Agreed. Welcome to the war, Jake Morrison." 2 weeks later, Jake stood in the medical bay of the Corvani flagship, watching 12 volunteers from New Haven prepare for their first blood donation. The process had moved faster than anyone expected, mainly because word of the Skrull threat had spread quickly through the colony. Rick Collins, the colony's maintenance chief, rolled up his sleeve and grinned at Jake. "Never thought I'd be saving the galaxy by giving blood, but here we are." Beth Martinez, the communications officer, was next in line. "My grandmother always said I had special blood." Yes, she was right, just not the way she meant. Jake smiled, but felt nervous. Each volunteer had been carefully screened by both human and Corvani doctors. Dr. Vex, though, had discovered that only certain humans carried the right genetic markers to create the enhancement. About 1 in 50 humans had the ability, which meant Earth could potentially provide thousands of enhanced warriors. "Remember, everyone," Jake said to the group, "if you feel uncomfortable at any point, speak up. We stop immediately." Linda Gray, who had insisted on being one of the first volunteers, nodded from her medical chair. "We trust you, Jake, and we've seen what the Skrull can do." That was true. Fleet Commander Knoxville had shown them recordings from recent battles. The Skrull were nightmare creatures that looked like living shadows with too many teeth. They moved in massive swarms, consuming everything in their path. Entire civilizations had been wiped out in days. Dr. Amy Foster worked alongside Dr. Vex, though, monitoring the human volunteers during the transfusion process. The alien doctor had been fascinated by human physiology and had shared medical knowledge. That amazed Amy. "Jake," Amy called out, "come look at this." On the medical scanner, Jake could see Rick's blood mixing with that of his assigned Corvani warrior, Kexnav. The blue and red blood created swirling patterns as they combined, and the readings showed immediate improvements in the alien's physical systems. "The enhancement is even stronger than with Zethka," Dr. Vex, though, observed. "The emotional bond between Rick and Kexnav is very positive. They seem to genuinely like each other." Jake had noticed that too. Rick and his warrior partner had spent hours talking through translators, sharing stories about their families and their work. The friendship was real, which seemed to make the blood enhancement more powerful. Through his own bond with Zethka, Jake could feel the excitement of the other warriors as they experienced the enhancement for the first time. It was like being connected to a network of minds, all linked by the human blood that flowed through them. "Jake," Zethka's voice came from behind him. The warrior had become Jake's constant companion over the past 2 weeks. "Fleet Commander Knoxville wants to see you. There's news from the front lines." Jake followed Zethka to the command center, where holographic displays showed star maps and battle reports. The news was not good. 3 more systems had fallen to the Skrull in the past week, and refugee ships were fleeing toward Corvani space. "The enemy is moving faster than usual," Fleet Commander Knoxville explained. "Our intelligence suggests they have detected something that concerns them. They are rushing to capture territory before we can mount an effective defense." Jake studied the tactical displays. They know about the enhancement program. "It seems likely. The Skrull have spies among many species. Word of our success here may have reached them." Dr. Vex, though, entered the command center with Amy close behind. "Commander, the first batch of enhanced warriors is ready for combat trials. Their physical improvements are beyond our projections." On cue, 12 Corvani warriors entered the room. Jake could immediately see the difference. They moved with fluid grace, their eyes bright with intelligence, their bearing confident and strong. Each one was paired with a human volunteer, and Jake could sense the bonds between them. Rick Collins walked beside Kexnav, and Jake was amazed at how natural their partnership seemed. "How do you feel?" Jake asked Rick. "Strange," Rick admitted. "I can feel what he feels sometimes. When he's happy, I'm happy. When he's worried, I get worried too. It's like having a brother in my head." Kexnav nodded. "The bond grows stronger. Each day, I understand now why artificial synthesis failed. The connection between our minds amplifies the physical enhancement." Fleet Commander Knox Vell looked pleased. "Excellent. We have received reports of a Skrull raiding fleet heading toward the Centauri colonies. This will be the perfect test of our enhanced warriors." Jake felt a chill. Through his bond with Zethka, he could sense the warriors' eagerness for battle, mixed with concern for the human colonists who would be in danger. "How many ships in the raiding fleet?" Jake asked. 15 Skrull vessels, carrying approximately 3,000 warriors. The commander brought up tactical displays. "Normally, we would need at least 30 ships and 10,000 warriors to have a chance against such a force." Amy looked shocked. "The Skrull are that much stronger then?" They are numerous, and they fight without fear of death. They consume the life force of their victims, growing stronger with each victory." Knoxville's expression was grim. "But with 12 enhanced warriors, we believe 5 ships will be sufficient." Jake did the math in his head. "You're talking about fighting odds of 600 to 1. Zethka placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. "The enhancement is that powerful, my friend. Watch." The warrior moved to a combat simulator in the corner of the command center. The machine created holographic enemies that attacked from all directions. Zethka moved like liquid lightning, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to fight multiple opponents simultaneously. In 30 seconds, he had defeated 20 simulated Skrull warriors. "Impressive," Linda Gray said from the doorway. She had finished her blood donation and looked tired but determined. "When do we find out if this really works?" "The fleet departs in 6 hours," Fleet Commander Knox Vell announced. "The enhanced warriors will lead the attack while regular forces provide support." Jake felt torn. Part of him wanted to go with them, to see if their plan would work. But another part worried about what would happen if they failed. What if the Skrull capture an enhanced warrior? What if they figure out how to replicate the process? Dr. Vex, though, looked troubled. "That is a significant risk. Skrull are known to conduct experiments on their prisoners. If they learned the secret of the enhancement, they could create their own enhanced forces," Amy finished. "Enhanced Skrull would be unstoppable." The command center fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Jake felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. His simple act of compassion had created something that could either save the galaxy or doom it. "We have protocols in place," Zethka said quietly. "Enhanced warriors carry devices that will prevent capture. If defeat is certain, we will not allow ourselves to fall into Skrull hands." Jake understood what the warrior meant, and it made him sick. "You're talking about suicide." "We are talking about sacrifice for the greater good," Fleet Commander Knox Vell corrected. "The same sacrifice you made when you gave your blood to save a stranger." Through his bond, Jake could feel Zethka's calm acceptance of this fate. The warrior was prepared to die to protect the secret of human blood enhancement. All of the enhanced warriors were. "There has to be another way," Jake said desperately. "There is," Amy said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. "What if we go with them?" "Absolutely not," Linda said immediately. "Think about it," Amy continued. "Jake's bond with Zethka is stronger than any of the others. If Jake is there, connected to all the enhanced warriors through their network, he could coordinate their actions, make them even more effective." Dr. Vexta looked intrigued. "The human bonding network could function as a command system," Fascinating. Jake felt the idea resonate through his connection with Zethka. The warrior was excited by the possibility. It could work, Zethka said. With you guiding us, we could fight as one mind with many bodies. Fleet Commander Knoxville studied Jake carefully. You would be willing to enter combat? Jake thought about the refugee ships fleeing from Skrull attacks. He thought about entire civilizations being consumed by the shadow creatures. He thought about Earth, somewhere out there in space, unaware that its fate might depend on what happened. In the next few days, I'll go, Jake said. But I want guarantees. If this goes wrong, if we're captured, the location of Earth stays secret. Agreed, the commander said immediately. You have my word as a warrior of the Corvani Empire. Rick Collins stepped forward. If Jake's going, I'm going too. Kexnav is my partner. We fight together. One by one, the other human volunteers voiced their agreement. They would accompany their Corvani partners into battle. Jake looked around the room at the faces of his friends and neighbors. These were miners and technicians and administrators, not soldiers. But they were willing to risk everything to protect their world and others. All right, Jake said. Let's go save the galaxy. As alarms began sounding throughout the ship, signaling preparation for departure, Jake felt the network of enhanced warriors responding to his presence. Through their bonds, he could sense their confidence, their determination, and their absolute trust in him. For the first time since this adventure began, Jake started to believe they might actually win. The Corvani battle fleet dropped out of light speed near the Centauri colonies, just as the Skrull attack began. Through the ship's main screen, Jake watched in horror as dark, twisted vessels swarmed around the peaceful farming settlements like predators circling wounded prey. My God, Amy whispered from beside him. Look what they're doing to those ships. The Skrull vessels were not just destroying the human colony ships. They were draining them somehow, leaving behind empty husks that crumbled into space dust. Jake could feel the rage of every enhanced warrior through their shared bond network. 15 Skrull ships, just as intelligence reported, Fleet Commander Knoxville announced. Enhanced warriors prepare for deployment. Jake closed his eyes and reached out through the bond network. Instantly, he could feel all 12 enhanced warriors throughout the small fleet. Zethka was on the command ship with him, but the others were spread across 4 other vessels. Through their connections, Jake could sense their thoughts, their emotions, their readiness for battle. I can feel all of them, Jake told Dr. Vex though, who was monitoring his vital signs. It's like being 12 people at once. Remarkable, the alien doctor murmured. Your brain activity is off the charts. You're processing information from multiple sources simultaneously. Rick Collins, who was stationed with his partner Kexnav on another ship, spoke through the communication system. Jake, this is incredible. I can feel what you're feeling, and you can feel what I'm feeling. It's like we're all connected. Beth Martinez chimed in from her position. The Corvani warriors say they've never experienced anything like this. They can anticipate each other's moves before they make them. Jake opened his eyes and looked at the tactical display. The Skrull ships were massive and covered in what looked like living armor that pulsed with dark energy. How do we fight those things? Zethka moved to stand beside Jake, with speed, precision, and the element of surprise. The Skrull have never faced enhanced warriors before. They will not expect what we can do. Fleet Commander Knoxville began issuing orders. Attack Pattern 7. Enhanced warriors will board the Skrull vessels directly while our ships provide covering fire. Jake felt his stomach drop. Board them? You mean go inside those ships? It is the only way, Zethka explained. Skrull vessels are heavily shielded, but their internal defenses are weaker. A small team of enhanced warriors can do more damage from inside than an entire fleet can do from outside. Through the bond network, Jake could feel the other human volunteers reaching the same understanding. They were not just going to watch this battle from a safe distance. They were going to be in the middle of it. "Jake," Linda Gray's voice came through the communicator. She was on the ship with 2 enhanced warriors. "Are you sure about this? We're just civilians." "We're more than that now," Jake replied, feeling the confidence of the enhanced warriors flowing through him. "We're part of something bigger." The battle began with a coordinated assault that took the Skrull completely by surprise. The Corvani ships moved with precision that seemed impossible, their pilots guided by information flowing through the bond network. Jake could see the entire battlefield through 12 different perspectives at once. "Launching boarding pods," announced the tactical officer. Jake watched as small, fast vessels shot out from the Corvani ships, carrying the enhanced warriors toward their targets. Through the bond, he could feel each warrior's determination and the strange calm that came with absolute focus. The first boarding pod reached a Skrull vessel, and Jake suddenly experienced the most intense sensations of his life. Through Zefka's eyes, he saw the inside of a Skrull ship for the first time. The corridors were alive, pulsing with organic material that seemed to breathe. The air was thick and toxic, filled with spores that would have killed a normal person in seconds. But the enhanced warriors' improved immune systems filtered out the poison automatically. "Contact!" Zefka's voice came through the communicator as the first Skrull warriors appeared. Jake gasped as he experienced combat through the bond network. The enhanced warriors moved like a single organism, each one knowing exactly where the others were and what they were doing. When one warrior attacked from the left, another was already moving to cover his flank. When one was overwhelmed, 2 others were there to help before he even called for assistance. The Skrull were fast and vicious, but they had never faced anything like this. They were used to fighting individuals or small groups that could be overwhelmed by superior numbers. But the enhanced warriors fought as one mind with many bodies, and their human blood had given them reflexes and strength that surpassed even Skrull capabilities. "Jake," Amy's voice brought him back to awareness of his own body. "Your vitals are spiking. You need to be careful." Jake realized he was sweating and breathing hard, as if he had been fighting alongside the warriors. Through the bond, he could feel every punch thrown, every enemy defeated, every step forward through the alien ship. "The reactor core," Zefka reported. "We have reached the primary target." Through his partner's eyes, Jake saw a massive chamber, filled with what looked like a beating heart made of dark energy. Organic cables connected it to every part of the ship, pumping malevolent life through the vessel. "Charges set," reported Kexnav from another ship. 30 seconds to detonation. One by one, the enhanced warriors reported successful placement of explosive charges. But Jake could feel something else through the bond. The Skrull were adapting faster than expected. They were learning from each encounter, and their next attacks were more coordinated. "We have a problem," Rick Collins reported. "The Skrull on this ship are calling for help. I can hear them communicating with the other vessels." Dr. Vex, though, looked worried. The Skrull hive mind is analyzing the enhanced warriors' fighting patterns. They will adapt their tactics. Jake felt a chill as he realized what this meant. They're learning how to fight us. Through the bond network, Jake could sense the enhanced warriors beginning to struggle. The Skrull were no longer falling for the same tactics. They were anticipating the warriors' moves and setting traps. "Zefka, get out of there," Jake said. "Urgently. All teams abort and return to the ships." "Negative," Zefka replied. "The charges are set, but we need to ensure they detonate. If even one Skrull ship escapes, they will carry information about our capabilities back to the hive." Mind. Jake understood the terrible logic. If the Skrull learned how to counter the enhanced warriors, the advantage would be lost forever. But that meant the warriors might not make it back to their ships before the explosions. There has to be another way. Jake said desperately. Suddenly, Beth Martinez's voice came through the communicator with excitement. Jake, I think I know how to help them. The bond network goes both ways, right? We can send information to them just like they send it to us. What do you mean? You're seeing through their eyes, feeling what they feel. But what if you could do more? What if you could help them think faster, react quicker? You're connected to all of them at once. You can see patterns they can't. Jake felt a spark of understanding. Through the bond network, he could see the entire battle from multiple angles simultaneously. He could track Skrull movements that individual warriors might miss. I see it, Jake whispered. I can guide them. Closing his eyes, Jake focused on the bond network with an intensity he had never experienced before. Instead of just observing, he began actively coordinating the enhanced warriors' movements. Through their shared connection, he could warn them of approaching enemies, suggest tactical improvements, and help them work together with perfect synchronization. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The enhanced warriors began moving with fluid precision that seemed almost supernatural. They anticipated every Skrull attack, countered every strategy, and advanced through the ships with unstoppable momentum. Incredible, Dr. Vextho breathed as she watched Jake's brain activity readings. He's functioning as a tactical command center for the entire network. One by one, the enhanced warriors reached their extraction points. The explosive charges detonated simultaneously, and Jake watched through the main screen as all 15 Skrull vessels were consumed by brilliant explosions, but the victory came at a cost. Jake collapsed in his chair, completely exhausted from the mental strain of coordinating 12 enhanced warriors simultaneously. Through the fading bond network, he could feel their gratitude and amazement at what they had accomplished together. The Centauri colonies are safe, Fleet Commander Knoxville announced. All enhanced warriors have returned safely to their ships. Jake smiled weakly as Amy checked his vital signs. They had won their first real battle against the Skrull, and they had proven that human blood enhancement could turn the tide of the war. But Jake also knew this was just the beginning. Through his connection with Zefka, he could sense that somewhere in the darkness of space, the Skrull hive mind was already adapting, learning, and preparing for the next encounter. The real war was about to begin. 6 months after the victory at Centauri, Jake stood in the council chamber of the Corvani homeworld, looking out at an assembly of alien dignitaries from across the galaxy. The room buzzed with dozens of different languages as species that had never spoken to each other before gathered to discuss the war against the Skrull. The Enhanced Warrior program had grown beyond Jake's wildest dreams. What started with 12 volunteers from New Haven had expanded to include over 300 human donors from colonies across space. Each successful battle against the Skrull had brought more allies to their cause. The final assault begins. In 72 hours, Fleet Commander Knoxville announced to the assembled crowd, "Our intelligence has located the Skrull primary hive world. If we can destroy their central command, the hive mind will collapse." Jake felt the weight of hundreds of enhanced warriors through the bond network. The mental strain had become easier to manage over time, but coordinating so many connections still exhausted him. Dr. Vextho had warned him that his brain was adapting in ways they didn't fully understand. Amy Foster, now serving as the chief liaison between human donors and Corvani medical staff, approached Jake with a worried expression. "The latest scans show that the bond network is affecting your neural pathways permanently. We don't know what the long-term effects might be." "I feel fine," Jake replied, though he knew that wasn't entirely true. Sometimes he could hear the thoughts of enhanced warriors, even when he wasn't actively connected to the network. The line between his mind and theirs was becoming blurred. Zefka joined them, moving with the fluid grace that all enhanced warriors now possessed. "My friend, there's something you must know about the final mission." The hive world is heavily defended. Even with our enhanced capabilities, many of us will not return. Jake had sensed this through the network, but had hoped he was wrong. How many warriors will we need? All of them, Zefkai replied quietly. Every enhanced warrior in the galaxy. And even then, success is not guaranteed. The implications hit Jake like a physical blow. 300 enhanced warriors meant 300 human donors would be putting their lives at risk. People like Rick Collins and Beth Martinez, who had become his closest friends over the past months. There has to be another way, Jake said. There is no other way, Fleet Commander Knoxville said as he approached their group. The Skrull hive mind has adapted to our tactics. They know our strengths now. The only way to succeed is through overwhelming force and perfect coordination. Dr. Vexdu looked up from her medical scanner. Jake, the neural load of coordinating 300 enhanced warriors simultaneously could kill you. Your brain simply isn't designed for that level of activity. Jake felt the truth of her words. Even coordinating 12 warriors during the first battle had nearly overwhelmed him. 300 would be like trying to hold the thoughts of an entire army in his head at once. What if we don't succeed? Amy asked. What happens to Earth? The question hung in the air like a death sentence. Everyone knew the answer. If the assault failed, the Skrull would eventually consume every world in the galaxy, including Earth. Rick Collins appeared in the doorway, his partner Kexnev beside him. Over the months, their bond had grown so strong that they often seemed to share the same thoughts. Jake, we need to talk. All of us. Within an hour, representatives from every human donor group had gathered in the chamber. Miners from asteroid colonies, farmers from agricultural worlds, scientists from research stations. They had all volunteered to be part of something greater than themselves. We know the risks, Linda Gray said, speaking for the group. We've all felt what you feel through the network. We understand what this final mission means, Beth Martinez nodded. The enhanced warriors are ready to die for this cause. We should be ready too. Jake looked around the room at the faces of people who had become his extended family. Through the bond network, he could feel their determination, their fear, and their absolute trust in him. I won't ask you to sacrifice yourselves, Jake said. You're not asking, Rick replied with a grin. We're volunteering, just like we did at the beginning. Dr. Amy Foster stepped forward with a data pad in her hands. I've been working with Dr. Vexdo on a solution to the neural overload problem. We think we can distribute the coordination load across multiple human minds. Jake looked at the technical readouts on her pad. What does that mean? Instead of you coordinating all 300 warriors alone, we create a network of human coordinators. Each one handles a smaller group, but they're all connected to you as the central hub. Dr. Vexdo nodded enthusiastically. The theory is sound. Multiple human minds working together could handle the load that would kill a single person. Huh. Many coordinators would we need? Jake asked. 12, Amy replied. One for each major assault group. Jake realized what she was suggesting. You want to put 12 humans at the same risk I'm facing. We want to share the burden, Linda corrected. That's what friends do. Through the bond network, Jake could feel the approval of the enhanced warriors. They understood the sacrifice the humans were making and were honored by their courage. Fleet Commander Knoxville looked impressed. This could work. With multiple coordination points, the enhanced warriors could operate with even greater efficiency. The next 72 hours passed in a blur of preparation and planning. Jake worked with Amy and Dr. Vexdo to establish the new coordination network, while the enhanced warriors prepared for the most dangerous mission in galactic history. When the assault fleet finally approached the Skrull hive world, Jake was amazed by what he saw. The planet was completely covered in organic structures that pulsed with dark energy. Millions of Skrull vessels surrounded it like a living cloud of death. Beginning the assault, Fleet Commander Knox Vell announced. Jake closed his eyes and reached out through the coordination network. Instantly, he was connected to 12 human coordinators, each one managing 25 enhanced warriors. The sensation was overwhelming but manageable, like conducting an orchestra of superhuman musicians. The battle was unlike anything that had ever been fought in galactic history. 300 enhanced warriors moved as a single entity, striking at the heart of the Skrull defenses with precision that seemed impossible. Through the network, Jake could feel every victory, every setback, every moment of triumph and despair. Rick Collins led his group through the planet's atmospheric defenses while Beth Martinez coordinated strikes against the orbital platforms. Linda Gray guided her warriors through the underground tunnel systems that led to the central hive chamber. Hour after hour, the enhanced warriors pushed deeper into the hive world, fighting creatures that had consumed countless civilizations. The Skrull threw everything they had at the invaders, but they had never faced an enemy that could think and move as one mind. Finally, after what felt like days but was only hours, Linda Gray's voice came through the network. "We've reached the central hive mind. It's massive, Jake. Bigger than a city." Through the network, Jake could see what she saw. The Skrull hive mind was a living mountain of dark flesh and twisted metal, pulsing with the consumed life force of a billion worlds. "Charges are set," reported coordinators across the network. "All teams, prepare for extraction." But Jake could feel through the network that something was wrong. The Skrull had one final defense, a psychic scream that was designed to shatter the minds of any enemy that got too close to the hive mind. "It's trying to break our connection," Amy warned. "The network is destabilizing." Jake felt the psychic assault like a knife in his brain. Through the coordination network, he could sense the enhanced warriors beginning to lose their synchronization. If the network collapsed now, they would all be trapped on the hive world when the charges detonated. Drawing on reserves of strength he didn't know he possessed, Jake poured everything he had into holding the network together. He felt his human coordinators doing the same, sharing the mental load even as the Skrull hive mind tried to tear their minds apart. "Hold together," Jake whispered through the network. "Just a few more seconds." The charges detonated simultaneously across the hive world. Through the network, Jake felt the death scream of the Skrull hive mind as billions of years of accumulated malevolence was finally destroyed. One by one, the enhanced warriors reached their extraction points and returned to their ships. The coordination network held until the last warrior was safe. Then Jake finally allowed himself to collapse. When Jake woke up 3 days later, Amy was sitting beside his bed with tears in her eyes. "You did it," she said softly. "The Skrull hive mind is gone." "The war is over," Jake smiled weakly. Through the bond network, which had become a permanent part of his mind, he could feel the joy and relief of enhanced warriors across the galaxy. They had saved every living world from the Skrull threat. "What happens now?" Jake asked. Amy handed him a datapad filled with official documents. "The Galactic Council has offered humanity full membership and access to technologies that will solve every problem Earth has ever faced. Energy, medicine, space travel, everything." Jake looked through the documents and saw his name on dozens of treaties and agreements. "I'm an ambassador now?" "You're a lot more than that," Amy replied. "You're the bridge between humanity and the rest of the galaxy."